Without a doubt, Cyberpunk 2077 is one of the best looking games of all time, and possibly one of the most demanding. But what if you only have a 10-year-old GPU? What if you have a GTX 970? If we're being real here, yeah, it can. Especially if you're running the game at 1080p or even 720p at low settings. But the question here is, what about at higher resolutions? At higher graphical settings? How far can it go? So why an Nvidia GeForce GTX 970? Well, for one, it happens to be my first GPU that I bought with my lunch money that I saved up around 3 years ago. And it's the only spare GPU I have on hand right now. And also the fact that this was the only video idea it could do in a small amount of time. I mean, come on, I've been out of the game for nearly a year. Gotta start with something small. Anyways, let's dive a little bit into the GTX 970. It came out on 19 September 2014. It was part of the GeForce 900 series alongside the GTX 980 and the GTX 960. It also had 4GB of VRAM. What's wrong? It doesn't really have 4 gigs. Oh, yeah, that got Nvidia into a little bit of trouble, didn't it? Anyway, this GPU was quite impressive, being able to run games at 1080p, which was more than enough back then, at 60 FPS on ultra very high settings. For example, it could run Battlefield 4, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and Watch Dogs. And Cyberpunk is a great game to test the GTX 970 with, since the games I've mentioned were considered pretty good looking at the time, and so we kinda get to see the evolution of graphics and performance in games. But just before we get to that, I think I need to make some clarifications. To record the footage, which you'll see in just a bit, I had to use GeForce Experiences Recording, or Shadowplay as it was called, I believe. I don't really know what they call it now. GeForce Experience Recording is quite the mouthful. It's not ideal, but I don't have a capture card, so it's pretty much the next best thing. It only takes up around 3 FPS, and it's better than using OBS or straight up recording the monitor with my phone. I also should mention that the mic quality when using this recording method is so much worse than using OBS. So expect some glitching and buzzing in the audio. Secondly, I'm going to be using DSR, or Dynamic Super Resolution, to be able to test the resolutions that are higher than my native monitors. Enough dilly-dallying, let's get going. We are at 1080p full screen. The graphics are now at their maximum. So we have high crowd density. In the advanced settings, we have everything up to the max as it can go. Let's see how the GTX 970 performs. And there we go. 17-18 FPS, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, this game is demanding. I have to say, it is a consistent frame time, so theoretically it could be playable. Let's start tracking our FPS. And let's walk around Night City and then call a car to drive around. 12 FPS is the lowest it went, averaging on 15. The GTX 970 is now at 99% usage. The temperature is pretty controlled, well below 80 degrees Celsius, which is good to see. But the VRAM, almost 4 gigs, pretty much 3.9 gigs. I would say, personally, even before we get to ground level, I am gonna say that it can still be playable. I mean, the fact that it's running at maximum settings without any complications is impressive. Whoa, okay, 12 FPS now. Especially since there's a lot of people. Let's go join them and walk around this small area. We're just gonna take a few minutes to stroll to see if 12 FPS is truly the lowest that it can go strolling through the streets. And then we'll call our car and drive around a little bit. Quality wise, it's pretty good, I guess. Is it worth the performance? I highly doubt so, but it does look pretty good. It's still around 14 FPS, 13 FPS there. It's not going below 12 FPS. Nice reflections on the car, I would say. They're not ray traced, but they're pretty good looking. I'm still very impressed with the GTX 970 right now. Able to hold a consistent 14 FPS. Alright, I think that concludes it. The GTX 970 stays strong at a consistent 14 FPS at all times with dips down to 12 FPS. The frame time is smooth. There aren't any stuttering, for example. There are times where the texture aren't properly loaded in, but I think that just happens. Let's go back up to my apartment and we can test this game and this GPU at a higher resolution. The next resolution is going to be 1440p. Let's just see how Cyberpunk 2077 performs with the GTX 970 at 1440p maximum settings. We are now at 2560 by 1440, so 1440p full screen and at maximum settings. I did not touch any of these settings from before. Let's see how the GTX 970 performs, huh? Here we go. 10 FPS. Okay. Alright. Huh. I expected a lot more of a difference, actually. I guess it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be. Okay then. Check our FPS and do the testing like we did before. This is impressive actually. The GTX 970 is at 100% usage now, and its VRAM is around the 4GB limit. The game is moving in literal slow motion, man. It's like I'm playing the game at 0.75 times speed. It's really slow. I think this is pretty much unplayable now. Because at least in the previous resolution, it was somewhat smooth. You know, probably if you were in a gunfight, you wouldn't be able to do headshots consistently, but you'll still be able to get through it. I mean, I'm not gonna say it doesn't look good because it's maximum settings. The reflections on the floor are amazing looking, even without ray tracing. But it's still pretty impressive. Though I was hoping for the game to perform a lot worse than just 9 FPS. I was hoping maybe a lot more single digits than this. But it's alright, we have more resolutions to test. We are now at the ground level. 8 FPS now. Oh wow, it's okay. It's literally a slideshow. It is insane. Even when we're driving, the FPS isn't that much worse. It's still the same as we are strolling around the street. But it is a lot more difficult to drive due to the input lag. It is rather interesting that the difference between 1080p and 1440p, especially in our testing here, isn't that big of a difference because we were just going through this area at around 14 FPS. And now we are only doing it at 9 FPS, which is only just minus 5 FPS. I would have thought the difference would have been a lot more, but I guess not. We are nearing the end of our test. Averages at around 9 FPS, went as low as 7 FPS. The next resolution, it is obviously going to be more than 1440p, but 1440p is my native monitor's resolution. Nvidia has a feature which enables us to go up higher than our native resolution. We are back at the apartment. Let's go up to 4K. Welcome to 3840 by 2160p, aka 4K, and it already looks incredibly sharp compared to 1440p. The advanced settings was not touched at all. I just changed the resolution. And might I say as well, when I went to record using GeForce Experience, it froze for almost a minute, I would say, and I thought I wouldn't be able to do this test while recording, but thankfully it was able to. Though I'm not going to be surprised if in the more higher resolutions that we are going to test, that the recording just won't work, and I would have to actually just show you guys a picture of the statistics after the test. But we'll see. Oh my. My. It's looking like it's gonna be just 3 FPS now, huh? Does it even... Oh my god, the delay. The delay is insane. I don't think I can... Yeah, there is no way am I gonna walk around the streets of Night City like this. Let's just take a look outside, huh? Let's just take a look outside on the city that we can't explore because of our bad frame rate. Wow, 4 FPS. That's amazing. I mean, I did ask for a significant difference, which still isn't really significant. It's only like 5 FPS less. 5 and 6 FPS, which, you know, when I think about it, it is pretty major. But yeah, 3 FPS. Obviously, the GTX 970 is at 100%. Temperature is still below 80 degrees, impressively. Especially since the GPU model is a blower style design, which a lot of people have said that runs hard because it's only just one fan. But at these settings, at these resolutions, it's staying well under 80 degrees, which is awesome. VRAM, of course, is pretty much capped. It's pretty much maximum, 4 gigs. And yeah, 3 FPS, ladies and gentlemen, 3 FPS. But it's not enough. No, it's not enough. Let's go up higher. Thanks to DSR, we can go higher. Now what do you say we give that a shot? Maybe, just maybe, we could get 1 FPS in this game, or 0 FPS in this game. How about that? Let's give it a shot, huh? Okay, next resolution. So the game crashed when I tried 4434 by 2494. So here is me with my backup budget phone showing you that the game can run at 3 FPS with the input lag being a full second or two before the game registers it. And for the sake of it, I tried 5120 by 2880, and as you would expect, it crashed every single time I tried launching it. Cool. Okay, goodbye.